back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. Today, we are thrilled to have a special guest who I've been chatting with about coming on the show. He's a true innovator in the restaurant industry and has done a myriad of different things. His current title, as of the time of this recording, is the Director of Off-Premise and Catering for Costa Vida. His name is Alan Beck. You probably have seen him on the LinkedIn feeds, and he's constantly commenting. He's at a ton of shows. Ironically, after this episode got recorded, he had just resigned from Costa Vida and has recently taken on a new role in 2026. So by the time this episode comes out, Alan will have been on the tech side. So it's going to be fun to catch up with him in the next couple of months as he tries to figure out what it looks like going from being on the brand side to the tech side. But he shares a ton of insights as to how Costa Vida does a ton with their off-prem and catering to really be a brand of choice for people that are out there. He and I have a really fun discussion going back and forth about all of the things that he's learned and how he implements change and works with operations closely to make sure that they are successful with the off-prem. So tune in, help us to make this a fantastic episode, and thank you for joining. If you don't know me, my name is Julian. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We wrote the North Star point of sale solution for multi-units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now onto the episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. As I like to say each and every time, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us because I know you guys got lots of choices. So thanks for hanging out on the show for today. Today, I am joined by somebody that, I don't know, pseudo celebrity in the LinkedIn space, keeps winning all these darn awards, has an amazing background in his picture. But Alan, why don't you introduce yourself for those that maybe have been living under a rock and aren't sure who you are? Talk to me a little bit about who is Alan, and then we'll get a chance to talk about what you get to do.
Yeah, I'm Alan Beck. I'm the Director of Off-Premise and Catering for Costa Vida. I've been at Costa Vida, tomorrow will be 9 years. I oversee all of our app and web, third-party catering and drive-through technologies and revenue channels. And just excited to chat with you guys and let you guys hear a little bit about what we do here at Costa Vida and how we're having a positive impact in our neck of the world.
I love it. For those that are not familiar with Costa Vida, I'm a huge fan of the brand. Anytime I'm in that part of town, I live in Dallas. Any chance I get to go hit up one of the stores, I'm like, okay, I'm in Flower Mound. There's a store right around the corner. I got to go figure out how that's my home store. There's another one down in kind of the Alliance area. So depending upon which side of town I'm on, I'm like, okay, I got to go check out a Costa Vida. I selfishly love the brand, but for those that are not familiar, they're not in a part of the country that they've gotten to experience it. Who is Costa Vida? What do you do?
Yeah, so Costa Vida, we are a 22-year-old brand. Our very first store was opened up in 2003 in Layton, Utah. We're a fresh Mexican grill. Internally, we joke that we don't do Mexican food the easy way. We do Mexican food the right way. So we are a from-scratch kitchen. All of our salsas, sauces, proteins, even our specialty beverages are all made in-house every day. And really what sets us apart is from that from-scratch idea, that we do it the way that Mexican food should be done. We don't try to cut corners or take things away. It's just absolutely unreal. I mean, I've been here 9 years. I've eaten the food almost every day for 9 years, and I'm still not sick of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I always find interesting about your brand is every time I go, there's something new. There's some new flavor that I can try. There's some new product that you guys have. So again, and I know a lot of people tease about Mexican food. It's like, it's a protein, it's a tortilla in some form or fashion, it's beans, it's rice, but it feels like you guys do a lot in the way of continuing to innovate where others are kind of like, they're pretty static. Is that part of the DNA? Is that part of the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we have a whole department. So, shout out to Kit Presswitch, who's our VP of innovation. He owns all of that. So he owns menu, supply chain, all of that. And so he and his team do an amazing job in making sure that, hey, what's the next LTO that we're coming out with? Is it our chili verde? Is it our shrimp? What is it? So he does a really good job of finding the new flavor that we're gonna roll out, and then working with our marketing team and developing a whole campaign around that and really focusing on it. It's really awesome. We have a few news coming out next year that we're super excited about, that I think is going to have a real amazing impact on the Costa Vida fans, that they're going to really like what we're coming out with.
I love that. And I guess for those that are not
less familiar, geographically, you guys started in Utah. Where have you guys penetrated? Kind of where is your guys' core market, and
Yeah.
how big have you guys gotten, from a brand recognition perspective and kind of geographically?
So currently we have 91 locations open today. Geographically, we are in the Utah market, what we refer to, and maybe the Midwesterners will know this, the Pioneer Corridor, which is like the Utah, Arizona, Texas, Idaho kind of area. We are in 17 states. And Canada. So, we have one up in Minnesota, one out in Tennessee, several in Texas, Arizona. Utah's our like core market, and then Idaho. We have our growth plan. This isn't, proprietary information. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here, but we've taken a couple beachheads here in the next few years, and we're going to really saturate the market in the Texas, Dallas area and Houston area, as well as the Phoenix market as well in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm sure it's an interesting divide coming into Texas because it feels like you can't swing a 9 iron and not hit a Mexican place. But you guys deliver something that's so different than what most do, and so I love that. I love that about your brand, that you guys are growing here and have been successful in the Texas market because of that.
Yeah.
Alan, you talked about what you get to do, and so I know that you're responsible for a lot more of the off premise. When you and I first met, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at RLC, you and I got to talking a little bit. And part of why I wanted to have you on the show is you guys have I don't say a different, but a very intentional off prem. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of brands are like, it's just a secondary afterthought. Whereas you guys not only resource that, I know you get to head that up, but it's a fantastic product off prem, and you guys do a lot in the way of ensuring that the guest is satisfied and that you guys are delivering high value. Talk to me a little bit about kind of your guys' off premise and where you get to make the largest impact as it relates to off prem.
Yeah, I love that question. There's so many different ways to take that question. I think the very first one, the only way that I'm successful is I work very closely with our operations team. And it doesn't matter what strategy or what concept or what marketing plan I work with. None of that is successful if operations isn't bought into it. So when we
Yep.
talk about catering strategy and we come out with a new catering offering, or we come out with a new menu item or whatever, I work very closely with the operations team because I need their buy-in. So working with the VP of ops, the director of company operations, and our director of franchise operations, I work with those three very closely, because if I roll out a new concept or I roll out a new packaging for to-go orders or whatever, and they're like, this thing's a piece of crap, they're not going to execute on it, and then our customers are going to feel that. And so the only way that I'm successful are because of Josh Brinkerhoff, my VP of ops, Shannon Valentine, my director of company operations, and Brian Collins, my director of franchise operations. I have to give them by name and a shout out, because nothing that I do can be successful without them. Obviously, Brian has to take it to the franchisees and sell this strategy, this concept to the franchisees and the franchise market. Shannon takes it to the corporate stores and the corporate market and say, like, this is what we need. This is what we're going to be doing. And they've been a part of the process. And so they're saying, this isn't Alan on the off-premise team just rolling something out willy-nilly. It's, we've been a part of the process. We've been baked this out. We've gotten input from operators to make sure that when we roll out a policy, a procedure, packaging, new menu item, or whatever it may be for off-premise, that it's successful.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. The best marketing campaign doesn't matter if operations like, this thing sucks, I'm not going to do it.
Well, and it I guess is part of what I was so impressed with you guys on is that it's a collective effort, and all too often, one, it's either an afterthought, kind of off prem. It's like, oh yeah, we have this menu, but nobody really cares about it. And two, you're at odds with, you've got your drivers, you're trying to drive off prem sales, but operations like, screw that guy, just get him to come into the store. We can execute on that. And so help our listeners, I guess, Alan, understand, how did you get that buy-in? Because operators typically are challenging, and I don't say that in a bad way, but they typically like it the way they like it, and they operate the way they do. Is it, are you selling to them? Or are you just sharing with them the gross margin, changes? Help our listeners understand that maybe stuck in that paradigm shift where they know they need to get off-prem, but haven't gotten there. What have you done that's been successful inside of your organization? You shouted out all those people that are so amazing at that, but you obviously led some of that charge, and I'd love for you to educate our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, again, I can't take full credit, but the biggest thing that's biggest difference is getting the operational buy-in. And so when we roll something out, I just don't sit here in my office and say, all right, cool, we've rolled out this new concept, we've rolled out this new packaging. No, now that we've rolled it out, I'm going to go work in stores alongside not only the individuals I've already mentioned, but then the operators, the general managers in the stores. And we're going to look through it, because sometimes, even though we've looked at the leadership team of operations, when you put that in a store, in a busy off-prem store, they're going to find ways to break that concept or that idea or that policy. And so it's really important to be able to, like, okay, cool, we've rolled out a new condiment box to put all of the side items, the pico, the sour cream, the guacamole, etc. In theory, you're like, perfect. If I roll out a condiment box and you put all the side items in there, we're going to have less missing and incomplete. But what we found when we initially rolled that out is that the condiment box was super difficult to put together. And so after, like, once those orders started flowing in, operators were like, this is a really cool box, but this thing's a piece of crap to build. I want the condiment box, but it needs to be easier to build. So then we went back. Okay, we went and worked in the stores. We found that out. We got their feedback. We built it ourselves, and we're like, yeah, this thing sucks. So then we went back to Kip and supply chain, and we said, hey, we need to work with our paper supplier, and we need to make this box. It just needs to, like, basically you snap it and it needs to build itself. It needs to be that easy. That took some time. We found it, and now it works, right? Now we're seeing in our missing and incomplete orders are being more accurate because we're not missing the side items. But the condiment box solved that, but the original one didn't work. So if my advice to you would be, whether it's catering, your app and web orders, or drive-through, whatever it is out there, go and work in those revenue streams with the operators in store, busy stores, slow stores, medium stores, and you're going to find out quickly if your idea or your thought process is going to work or not. Or they're going to tell you to kick rocks, and
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
Well, I love that you get out of the ivory tower of corporate and get back to the stores. And again, I know that's part of your guys' culture, straight from the top, that you guys do that. And so the fact that you're there, I know all too often people are like, they don't, the operators are like, they don't understand. They've never been in the stores. And the fact that you're willing and able to do that, I think gives everybody an understanding of, hey, this is what is going to make it better. And now, how do we go about, working collaboratively? They know that you're there with them, that it's not just your initiative, but it's a global initiative across the board.
And you get so much buy-in when you're in those stores. And it's like, yeah, I'm the director of off-premise and catering. Great. You know what? I'm here to look at my concept, but I look over and see, like, hey, dishes are piling up. And you start helping them with dishes, you get their buy-in now. And then when you try to roll something out in the future, they're like, hey, yeah, that guy came and helped me last time. I'll give it a shot and give him honest feedback, versus, like, they just keep shoving things down our throats and it doesn't work. Like, I just witnessed this at a large concept. I won't name them because I don't want to get in trouble, but I was there and they came out with this new meal that had, like, sauce and everything, and it was a big deal. My kids loved it. And being a restaurant guy, I was watching them this concept struggle, execute. And I'm like, I'm just curious, like, is it struggling because, so I started asking the manager on duty, I'm like, hey, like, when you get a second, I'd love to just chat with you about it. I'm a restaurant guy, let's talk about it. And they said, yeah, marketing sent this down, and we're getting a ton of sales from this new meal. But what they don't understand is, when you go to close that box, the tabs don't work, and then everything kind of explodes out and we can't fit it. And then the box is bigger than the bag it's supposed to go in. And, like, so they're, like, backed up and they got 20 of these meals on the screen, and they're like, we can't execute on the one. And so it's like, it's a great marketing concept. You're driving business in, but then operationally they're like, I can't wait for this campaign to end because I hate it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's huge to get in that buy-in. Alan, talk to me a little bit about catering. Before we jump straight into off-prem, because off-prem is a big piece. You talked about drive-through, and I know you're responsible for some of those pieces. Why catering? Why catering? Why do you guys focus a decent amount of your efforts on catering? I personally know, and I love kind of your guys' product, but for those that are at 1 or 2% catering orders, especially Mexican concepts, help our listeners understand, why is catering such an unlock that too many brands are not considering?
Well, why is it unlock is because businesses are finally, like, putting money towards it. And so there's a big focus on it, right? We've heard at conferences, whether it be RLC, Food on Demand, even even the tech conferences, FS Tech or MERTech, QSR, Fast Casual Executive. It's a buzzword, right? Catering's a buzzword. And so if you're not a strategy or a concept around that to help capitalize and to get a piece of that, I don't know if it's $1 billion, I've also heard $1 trillion pie of catering. You need to, but then also don't try to fit a square knob into a round hole. If
Yep.
you're going to offer catering, listen to what your customers are saying. Luckily for me, I've had 20 years of a brand of telling us, my consumers telling me what they want in catering. And then for me, it's just a matter of taking that feedback and then adjusting the strategy and concept and offerings to that feedback. I know that people, when they order Costa Vida, they want to build your own bar. And what I love about that is we've been doing that very focused, like highly in the last 10 years. Have very strategic focus on that. And then you get the big juggernauts, Chipotle's, that are now offering a build your own bar. And I'm like, wow, we've been doing that for 10 years. So we captured lightning in a bottle. And now people above us, where we're punching above our weight class, are following suit. And so it's really cool to see that. Now, if you're a Mexican concept and you have an awesome burrito or enchiladas, you gotta, what I would suggest is make that food, throw it in a container, wait 30 minutes, and then eat it and see if you still like it. Because what
Yep.
we've done is we tried that. We tried to build everything, deliver it, and it wasn't a good experience. And so what we've done from there is we said, okay, if we deconstruct it and then offer it that way where they can build it themselves, it works out well for us. We also want to be really strategic with that and be really honest with ourselves, because we have salsas and sauces and proteins that have sauce in the protein with our sweet pork. You want to be honest in the verticals that you want to play in. The last place I want to play in is like the intimate wedding reception, wedding lunches, because I would die if my pork sauce got on that bride's white dress and I've ruined her day. So am I going to spend a lot of time marketing in the wedding venues and reception centers? No. Now, if someone calls in and says, hey, we want to do a luncheon with you guys, I talk to them about that. My sales reps talk to them about that. Like, hey, we can, but we want to be very honest with you. Like, well, we want to do salads. We probably don't want to do enchiladas or tacos, because if something spills on those nice dresses or tuxedos or whatever, we're going to be devastated, right? And then people are going to have that perception that we ruined that day for them. So not only do you want to talk about like what do you want to offer and how does the offering look, but then what verticals do you want to play in? I'm very good in the lunches in offices, the PTA meetings, the benefit nights for schools. So I play well in that area. And so if you're a burger joint that's like, we don't want our food in those boxes for long because then the buns get soggy, then you want to make sure that you're offering it the right way. So that would be my biggest advice: is be honest, get your customer feedback, and know what you want to offer, and then be honest in the verticals that you want to play in. Obviously, I want to play in every vertical I can, but there's certain verticals that I don't want to spend time in marketing in because the ROI or whatnot isn't the best for me.
Well, and the other thing I heard you say, Alan, that I think all too often people don't think about is their catering menu is just an expansion of their in-store menu. And it's like, it may or may not translate well. Me getting a bowl, which is typically my order with the sweet pork that you talked about, that does not translate well to a catering when I'm feeding 40 people. You want, the build your own bowl versus the bowls where everybody's ordering them by themselves, which I guess brings me now to off-prem. You've got off-prem through third party. You've got off-prem through drive-through. You've got off-prem through some other means. How do you guys think about that food traveling? Because again, I know you guys get a lot of feedback from your guests about where things are at.
Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant Technologies Incorporated. They are the leaders in automated cooking oil management. And if you're not familiar with them, they've been on the show a few times to share some of the unique and cool things that they've been doing in the oil management space. They have an end-to-end closed-loop automated system that helps deliver, monitor, filter, collect, and recycle your cooking oil. Sounds like a lot. It's because they do a ton to help clean up one of the dirtiest jobs and most dangerous jobs in your kitchen. You can check them out by visiting rti-inc.com or by calling 888-779-5314. They've already helped over 45,000 customers in the United States with their cooking oil, so clearly they're doing something right. Now back to the episode.
How do you guys manage both sides of that? Because it's I can't imagine it's easy.
Yeah.
Because guests want the same experience as if they're in the store, but now it's on DoorDash and it's 40 minutes later, and is it as good and all of that. So I'd love for you to talk us through how do you guys think about that, especially with LTOs and your guys' constant menu innovation.
Yeah. So again, it's very similar to the catering experience. You want to to experience it for yourself first. So you want to take that food, put it in your to-go packaging and let it sit for 15, 20 minutes. What does it taste like? Did we lose something? And then is it too soggy? Is it too cold? What's going on there? And so one of the things that we found was our biggest opportunity was our nachos. Now our nachos are phenomenal. We're a deep dive nacho, so they're layered nachos. And you put everything together. You got the beans, you got the protein, you got the cheese, you got the queso, you got the guac, sour cream, and pico de gallo on there. It's a fantastic bite in store. Now, if you put all of that on there, let it sit for 30 minutes, DoorDash driver then drives to deliver it, and you get it at home. All of that liquid on there has just made there's just a big bowl of soup. So the very first thing that we wanted to do is we said, okay, we got to deconstruct that a little bit. We need to take things off. So what we can do is we can say, okay, we can put the beans, the protein, and the cheese on there, but we're going to put the queso, the sour cream, the guacamole, and the pico de gallo. We're going to put that on the side in 4-ounce containers. And so when they get it, they can put it on there. And we're not making everything soggy, right? And then you want to look at your make times. You want to look at your whole strategy of how much lead time do you need to make the order and then execute it. And then we worked very closely with like the DoorDashes and the Olos of the world to make sure that our travel time isn't based off of distance. It's based off of how long it takes to get there. So we know that for me to execute off-prem orders either through my app, web, or third party, I need 15-minute lead time to make the orders. That's not a arbitrary number. That's not a feel-good number. That's data has backed that up. So order comes in, it fires. I got 15 minutes to make the order. Okay. Now, maybe it only takes me about 12 to 13 minutes to make that order. So maybe it only sits for 1 or 2. DoorDash driver or customer comes to pick up the order. I've strategically set my distance in all of my stores that it's only a 15-minute travel time. So the way that we've built it is by the time the order fires to the time the order is delivered, it's a maximum of 30 minutes. Like that's it. Like if it's 35 minutes, the 40 minutes, it adjusts accordingly. And then the distance to travel for the DoorDash drivers are only set at 15 minutes to get there, because I know that's when my food is the best. And that's before it starts losing or degrading and getting too soggy or getting too cold or whatnot.
Yeah. And obviously the intentionality by which you guys go. The one thing you brought up a couple of times, Alan, that I'd love, and again, I think it's underutilized, is partnership with your packaging vendors.
Yeah.
You brought up packaging 2 or 3 different times through the first 20 minutes or so of this conversation. How do you go about finding the right packaging? You identify that it's a problem, but now it's hard. It's hard to make it cost effective.
Yep.
To do that, it's hard to get production. Oftentimes, you obviously lived through the pandemic when you couldn't get packaging at all.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you talk about how do you go discover? I see you at a lot of the shows. I know you walk these things to go talk with people. Do you just have deep relationships where you kind of explain to people what they're looking for? Or are you constantly out on the lookout, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So we have a great relationship with our paper supplier. Absolutely fantastic there. And so what we're able to do there is we're able to go to them and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. What can you find me? Right. But then also on the flip side of that is going to these shows and being intentional with it. If you're going to a show and just like happenstance, I'll see what's out there, then that's what you're going to get. I always go like, if you set a specific goal, you're going to get a specific result, whether that's losing weight or going to a show to find current packaging or finding a technical solution or whatever. So I always go intentional. I always like talking with the packaging at the conferences, because they're going to be showing their latest and greatest there. And so if you're not stopping by the booths and seeing what the latest and greatest is, then you're missing out on an opportunity. But then also being honest with yourselves and being like, okay, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a solution for my nachos? Am I looking for a solution for my catering packaging? Am I looking for a solution for sealing the bag so that DoorDash drivers or Uber drivers aren't stealing chips out of the bag after we send it out the door, right? You want to be strategic with what you're looking for because we've all been to NRA, right? There's so much going on there and you can get so overwhelmed. Or you can say, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to go to that section and I'm going to go and find it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my biggest advice. And then honestly, like having those deep relationships goes a long way. If it's a transactional relationship, it's barely a relationship. And so what we do, we want to know, how do we work together? How do we deepen that relationship? Because if you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back, and everybody's happier that way. And we're not immediately running off to find the cheapest and easiest solution to replace them. And they feel like they're part of the decision-making process, and they take pride in it. When they see that container or that to-go packaging or that catering packaging out there, they take pride in it. Like, look what I found for Costa Vida. Look what I found for that concept. I helped them do that.
Yep. No, and I think that's part of what we do at CBS North Star. I know that we've kind of become virtual friends. And I know you've been spending time with Ali and Anthony. It's like we constantly are trying to figure out what is it that we can do to help each other. And to your point, I think it ends up being one of those things that that makes everybody better. Last question before we start to wrap up is how often are you looking at what the competition is doing? You talked about Chipotle taking, the build your own.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a scoop and serve Mexican concept at the counter, there's some other people out there. We've on the East Coast, the Bubba Coos of the world have been growing. You've got the big ones, Chipotle and Moe's, and some of those guys. And I know even in Utah, you guys have got there's another one that was a spinoff from you guys. How often are you guys checking those things out for off prem? Or you guys and I'll tell you a funny story. We had an employee that used to work at Taco Bell's corporate headquarters, and Taco Bell owns Pizza Hut, and they were working overnight shift. And they brought in Domino's Pizza, and they got called to the executive's office because they were bringing in the competitors' food into the office. And at the same time, I know a lot of brands like to see what others are doing so that they can learn from it. And so love to understand, how much are you keeping your ear down to, what is In-N-Out doing? What is, just all these different brands, whether they're direct competitors or they're competitors just from a catering perspective and an off-prem perspective. How often are you looking at those competitors, Alan? And oftentimes, I'm guessing if you are doing that, you're learning from them.
Yeah. So I think there's two concepts on there. So I'm gonna be honest, I have every competitor's app on my phone, like every single one, at least the ones that I deem like direct competitors, right? And there's also like and what's interesting about that is I have relationships with the competitors, like right.
Mhm.
Sabrina Jenkins over at Moe's and we're friends, right? When we go to the catering workshop, we talk to each other. It's in my mind, when they're successful, I'm successful, right? Because then you're bringing attention to our concepts and to our section of the industry, and I love that. But like for me, I'm looking at least weekly. I'm getting all of the marketing emails and push notifications from my competitors. And then I'm not going to lie, I order caterings and order app and off-prem and third-party orders from my competitors at least quarterly. I want to see how the packaging's coming in. I want to see what this new LTO is. I want to see what are they doing in catering? How are they delivering it? What's included in it? So for me, and this goes to like Wade and the leadership team here is, yeah, obviously they don't want me to bring in the competitors daily, right? They like, quit spending your money there, right? But at the same time, if it goes back to, if you're being intentional with it, like I'm not just bringing in the competitors to give them money. I'm bringing in the competitors because I want to see what they're doing. And again, success breeds success. I look at it in the world you want to talk about the POS world with CBS North Star. Like the last thing I would, you want is you don't want a data breach at a competitor, because then your partners and your customers are saying, well, what are you doing to prevent a data breach, right? Versus
Absolutely.
like, hey, Toast came out with this concept, or Par Brink came out with this concept. Hey, we don't have that. How are we going to build that? Because they're seeing success from it, right? It's the same idea, right? The last thing I want is to see a competitor have a foodborne illness outbreak, because then all that's going to happen for me is they're going to think like, Costa Vida does it the very similar way. Is it safe to eat there?
Yep.
Right. I want my competitors to be successful because it helps me be successful. When they stumble and fall, or when I stumble and fall, we feel it in both areas. Here locally, put a pin in all that. Here locally, we had a direct competitor go to and serve a catering for a 40 person catering. All 40 people got sick.
Ooh.
The next day, the health department was in my locations checking to see how we do catering.
Yeah.
So again, they didn't go to the concept and say, okay, what are you guys doing? They said, all right, who does catering just like this concept? We need to make sure that we don't have any other issues moving forward. And so like that, I don't want that. I want them to be successful. I want their LTOs to be successful, because then when I roll out my LTOs or my offerings, I'm successful.
Yeah. Well, and part of why I asked you to be on the show, Alan, is really just the fact that you've been so giving with your time and energy, and you are one of those people that tries to bring everybody in the industry up. So I appreciate that. Last line of questioning: what is your go-to? What is your standard go-to? If somebody's never been to a Costa Vida, they walk in, I guess, what is the standard that you would tell a brand new client? And then what is your go-to? My wife worked at In-N-Out growing up, and she has the most random In-N-Out order. I'm like, that's not on the menu anywhere. She's like, well, when you eat it every day, you have to mix some things up. And so I'm sure you have some wonky stuff that you're like, oh, I get this with this and this and this. But what's kind of the standard go-to for somebody that's never been, if they're in a town, oh, there's Costa Vida. I heard Jeremy and Alan talking. This is what I need to get. What is that? And then what is your wonky, I've been there for 9 years and I get some really crazy stuff.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you got to try our street pork. It's what we're famous for.
Oh gosh, it's so good. And the queso. Sorry.
And the queso. So you get sweet pork and queso, it's good to go. So the marketing answer on this, and this is, Ali will love this. The marketing answer is you got to try our sweet pork and you got to try our queso. That is what we are famous for. That's our bread and butter, right? And you can get the sweet pork if you're in enchiladas or salads, or burrito or salads. That's the most common order that we have is burrito, salad, sweet pork, right? You got to get a regular chips and queso. You won't regret it. That queso is like liquid gold. Again, it's made from scratch. We cut the queso in the back into cubes and then slowly melt it and emulsify it. It's awesome. Okay. Now the Alan answer, the second part of that, what do I get? So my favorite thing that I get is I get 3 enchiladas, grilled chicken, and then I do the queso inside and out of the enchiladas. That is my go-to. I eat that probably 3-4 times a week. Right now, we're getting ready to roll out a brand new beef. I've made that. That's my current order too. That's what I had yesterday for lunch was 3 beef enchiladas with the queso. It's phenomenal. Get a little side salad with the strips, cotija cheese, and the ranch. Awesome.
Love it. Yeah, I've never had the enchiladas, ironically, so I'll have to check that out next time I'm there.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, how do people stay in touch? Again, you are always out in LinkedIn space delivering value, and so I would love for all of our listeners to follow you. But how do they get connected? How do they stay connected, both to you and to the brand?
Yeah, so follow us on all social media platforms for Costa. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. So follow Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill on all of our social medias. You can connect with me personally on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. Or if you just see me walking around a show, come chat. I'm a 6'5", 300-pound redhead. You can't miss me. And I have high energy. And so come talk to me at the shows, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat anytime. I'd love to help those around, answer any questions. I live for that. So awesome. Don't hesitate to reach out. Don't be shy. Shoot me a message so that I know it's not just a BDR, SDR, just reaching out to try and sell me something. A personal message always goes a long way in connecting, so I know what's going on.
Awesome. Alan, thank you for spending your time this morning. I know you've got lots of fun things to do, so I appreciate you sharing the wisdom. To our listeners out there, guys, as I said at the onset, I don't take your time for granted. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so and make it a great day.
Thank you.
Awesome.